Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to another fine episode of Record Breakers. I am Petey Ray, here with you again. With me, as always, is my crew of yahoos, my quorum of reviewers and discussers and stuff. We got Brett.
1, 2, 1, 2.
We've got Drew.
Hey.
And we've got Patrick.
What up, crazies?
We're gathered together to talk about music, and as y'all might remember, if you listened a couple of weeks ago, we had our last episode. I mentioned we're going to talk about something interesting called Babymetal. Babymetal is a fascinating group. It is a melding of two completely different styles. It's J-pop and metal. We'll talk about the kind of the elements and how they work in a second, but mainly if you want to know about Babymetal is that it started as a subunit. This dude had one of the vocalists from a kind of an idol group that he really wanted to have a project around, and he decided, well, let's do this metal thing. He had a bunch of people that he could work with. Let's do this metal thing. He got her a couple of cohorts to kind of provide a contrast to her vocal styles, and that it was Sue Metal and a couple other gals that got together, and they created Babymetal, put a band around them, they created Babymetal, and then they became big, they went viral, and this year they released a full-length album as a kind of a unit. And what's interesting that the success has even made them valuable enough that once Sue Metal was beyond the age where she would belong in the group that she was in, they decided to just, hey, instead of graduating her, let's just do Babymetal. That's it. We do Babymetal. And of course, we're talking about the full length album from them, their debut effort. Let's go around the horn and ask about expectations, which should be interesting. I'll start with, since he's already on camera, Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, I had heard some Babymetal before. I had seen a couple of the videos thanks to them boys over at Night Attack, formerly NSFW show. Brian has a certain penchant for playing their stuff every once in a while for fun. And I heard them there, so I sort of knew kind of the sound I was going to get. I knew their more metal-y stuff, because that's the thing that sort of goes viral, is their more metal-y stuff. The thing that very much is juxtaposed with the image that you're getting. So I knew I was getting that. The other bits, well, we'll get into that, I guess.
Yeah. Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this album?
This was an album I didn't need to go download when you said we were doing it. If that says anything, it was already in iTunes. And I enjoy Babymetal, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's a thing. I think what it is if it had showed up when I was really, really into metal, it would have bothered me. But now that I'm not like super metalhead kid, I find it just to be the most amusing thing in the world. Because the metal's pretty metal, and the J-pop's pretty J-pop, and I mean, we'll get more into it.
Yeah. And Brett, I'm curious, what were your expectations coming into this?
Now, I know my metals. And Babymetal, I was expecting a ferrous metal somewhere between pig iron and steel that's both malleable and ductile. But no, I had no clue what I was getting into. I knew it was an idol band, and I knew it was some kind of heavy metal undertone. But otherwise, I just knew that you guys was flapping your gums about it. So
yeah,
that's all I knew.
Does Babymetal rust, Brett? Does Babymetal rust? Is it into oxidation?
It is, but it's a weathering metal. So the oxidation is also the finish.
And it will also pour out onto the sidewalk.
Yeah, like the U.S. Steel Building.
Yeah, in Babymetal, what you get is, you heard, it's kind of a juxtaposition of J-pop and metal in a lot of different ways. And specifically, there's a very, distinct styles in the J-pop. J-pop is a genre that, at its core, it's born from pop and some rock elements. You'll hear a lot of very pop punky songs in J-pop. If you really kind of get into them, you hear a lot of anime themes that are very pop punky, but are very J-pop. So having guitars in J-pop is not a completely foreign thing, So, but you don't really see metal and this part of the spectrum of J-pop and this metal, which again is not a foreign thing in Japan either. Metal exists in Japan, and there is a metal scene. So there it's a very fascinating, interesting thing. There's a lot of elements of using not just a very familiar to Japan style of metal, very power, speed metal, very kind of precise metal, but also elements of American metal, which some might think would be like the weaker parts of their metal aspects, but I'll let you guys kind of give your thoughts on it. I'll go. Yeah, it's J-pop and metal. There's not really much to say. It's just a wild ride of juxtaposition. I'll go with Drew again. What were your thoughts? What were some of the themes and elements that stood out for you? What were your thoughts when you listened to it?
Well, I thought it was going to be more gimmicky than it was. I guess there are some very much uses of the gimmick to push forward. But the weird part to me about the album as a whole was that there were parts of it that were very, very much like we're going to push the death metal side of things. But then you got into these weird, catchy choruses that very much reminded me of my days playing things like Power Stone and Sonic Adventure and all those things on the Dreamcast. And it was a weird sort of thing. I was not expecting that side of it. I was very much expecting the chugga chugga death metal with the pretty singing girl, and I got catchier stuff than that, so I was very surprised. It was much more competent than I thought it was going to be. I guess that's a nice way of putting it. Sounds very mean, but it was as much of use of a gimmick as Death Clock is, so I don't know. That's really a bad thing to say, but
Patrick, what would be some of the themes and elements that stood out for you? What would be kind of, once actually sitting down and listening to it objectively, that stood out for you? What your thoughts were?
If you put the soundtrack of Initial D and mid-90s Swedish melodic death metal in a blender, and then you just filled the rest of it up with vodka, you would have Babymetal. It is very much driven by relatively modern death metal, like I said, kind of the Swedish scene in the late 90s and what has carried on since then, but super J-poppy at times. And I think that for me, just when this showed up, it was like, oh, this came out of nowhere. And as it's turned out, the metal community has somewhat embraced it in a very weird way. I think it's everyone's guilty pleasure in metal right now. And what you notice is they're actually, the metal's mostly pretty good. Like the guys who are in the band can play. Mm-hmm. Which isn't surprising, I guess. The girls can sing, which I think does it for me, and it is unlike anything else. It's unlike there's sort of two ways of doing a metal band with a girl. You can be arch enemy and just have a girl who can scream the paint off of walls, or you can do that lame Evanescence thing where she's kind of gothy and broody and sings pretty. And this does something kind of different than both of those, and I like that about it. It's so weird that you can't help but kind of appreciate its uniqueness in a world where metal kind of got stale, for me at least, in the last couple of years, when bands just all started to sound the same.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be the things that stood out for you thematically?
Well, I mean, the things that stood out. Oh, well, I mean, the Capcom dance beat with the Dragon Force. I like to call it the Dragon Force kind solo. Like the sweeps, like the things that don't sound like it comes out of a guitar. It sounds like it comes out of a something Herbie Hancock has in his basement. But the dash of dubstep and dirty South rap out of these Japanese girls. Like that is the thing that struck me, and I was like, okay, this is it's contrived, it's kind of schlocky. Like somebody was like, I need to make some money. What can we throw in this blender and be palatable in a market that lets us stand out a little bit from the rest of this? And I guess a little bit of dubstep and that dirty South beat with like the sound of 8-year-old girls going to town. I mean, it's
really, if you wander around, if you wander around a neighborhood in Liberty City, you might hear that exact same sound, including 8-year-old, slightly different sounding 8-year-olds, but 8-year-olds going, yeah.
It was just enough English too. Like I love that. Like I love it when somebody tries so hard to get the American like accent perfectly wrong. Like it is so great.
Yeah. So like getting into some of the songs that it's interesting, kind of the selection of songs that you go through, because you start with some of the notable songs. You start with a song like Doki Doki Morning, which is kind of, I think, something that put in a lot of our radar. It's definitely what caught Brian Brushwood's attention and got him to kind of be on the Babymetal train and showed it on the NSFW show. And of course, their other viral hit, if you want to call it, their other song that kind of got them a lot of notoriety is "Gimme Chocolate." But and that's another notable song with some nice elements. I think the one song in between those two that chronologically, as far as release, was the song that kind of started getting me interested, was a song like Megitsune. Megitsune, which is I think more of what it was something that caught my attention. Very cool style to it. It's very cool elements of its metal work out really well, I think, for me, and the singing works out well for me as well, because what takes center stage is Sue Metal and her vocals. She has at times very conventional J-pop vocals, but she does them fairly well, especially for such a young girl. They are very much J-pop vocals. It's very kind of a specific range vocally that you hear with a lot of singers and idol groups and idol singers and soul singers. But it does work out well in this track. Other tracks that another track that I think also stands out as a really cool actual quality metal work, Akatsuki, as well, is another song that I can actually kind of jam to on a metal side. And of course there's Ine, as you mentioned, the song that Brett was talking about that gets into the dubstep, and I'll tell you, you are not ready. No matter how many times you listen to no matter how many times you listen to this album, you are not ready for when Babymetal gets ratchet. Like, it is.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because that was the point in the record where I was like, because we know on this show that I've screwed up the album before. We're not going to play like I haven't. I'm listening to this album. The beginning sounds like something off of DDR, and then they start rapping, and I'm like, did I get the wrong album? Like, what did I do?
1, 2.
It's like it's just like you're listening to this metal record, and this part comes on, and you're like, what? Oh yeah, sup? Let's get turned up, motherfucker. Oh yeah. Yeah, Babymetal gets ratchet.
I just suddenly became the classiest motherfucker in this podcast because I didn't join in that.
It really comes out of nowhere. Like, I thought, it's a novelty. It's a novelty of a culture that's easy to be like, ha ha ha, that's funny because it's strange. And I like funny things that are strange, but this is some weird shit. Like, the fact that made it into this, like, that somebody created this band, like, had it in there. We want to have heavy metal, and we want to have young-sounding Japanese women, together. Two great tastes taste great together. But you know what? We need to add a completely different genre that's on, like, over here. They could have had, like, I don't know, like flamenco or something added in, and it wouldn't be as weird as this. This is, like, not even on the same, like the Venn diagram does not overlap in at all. Like, I don't know where they came up with this, but they put it right in the middle of the album. So it was like, well, that made my day. You know, I heard this.
Yeah. I'll go back around horn. Drew, other than that moment, what were some of the tracks that caught your attention?
Right, we already covered my thoughts on one of the songs I put down in my notes. The Babymetal Death was where I got, when I thought, oh, they're playing off of, like, a joke and sort of being the Death Clock thing. Babymetal Death was the one that brought Death Clock into my mind, and I was like, oh yeah, there's been, like, funny metal bands before that's, like, done weird things with it. How'd you pronounce it?
Megitsune.
Whatever. I'm bad with other languages that aren't English. The song was cool overall. Like, to me, that song is, when I sort of think of what the band sort of is, like, as a whole, like their goal, I guess you could say, that's the sort of song that I would imagine, I guess. The Gimme Chocolate one was definitely the one where the chorus definitely in my head for some reason reminded me of Sonic Adventure the entire time.
Yes.
I don't know, like, that was just a thing. I was like, after that I had to go listen to Escape from the City like 3 times. That was just sort of the thing. And, like, those were the songs that, like, to me were the sort of encompassing, like, yeah, no, this is weird. Like, and that's sort of what it is.
Yeah, Babymetal Death is a really fascinating intro because it's the intro track, and
Right.
It plays off of their pronunciation of the word death, which kind of sounds like deaths, which is basically the song is Babymetal Deaths, as in we are Babymetal.
Right.
It's like Su Metal Deaths. Metal Deaths, and they introduce themselves, and it's a fantastic intro. Patrick, what would be some of the tracks that stand out for you?
So a bit ago we were talking about the dirty rap southern thing that showed up in a song a little later in the album, Ookie Ookie Midnight.
Yeah.
There was just Skrillex showed up, and it wasn't like your normal rip-off Skrillex that is basically the dubstep scene right now, if they haven't all quit and gone to trap music. It was Skrillex. Like, it sounded disturbingly like something off of a Skrillex record, and I hate that I liked it. I hate myself for liking, because I have this whole theory that dubstep is to house what death metal is to metal. It's just take everything and turn it to 12, because 11 was not enough. And it takes it too far sometimes, but it has its appeal for it. That song, just because it was weird. The ending song, which I assume is Ijimi Dami Zeitai, because I don't speak Japanese, and I'm sorry for the no one in our audience who does. It sounded super like an In Flames song, and then it had the Dragon Force solo, which... Can we just talk about how disappointing Dragon Force was? Because that was pitched to me as the new Iron Maiden, and they were not. They weren't even, like, good. They had, like,
Not
one
in the same ballpark.
Mad at
They
whoever
had-
did that to you.
Yeah, I'm pissed off at them, and I'm
Punch
pissed
that
off
person-
at
person?
Duck.
It's like pitching a band as the White Stripes, but good.
Yes,
or
yes.
the next Beatles. No, Duran Duran is not going to be the next Beatles.
And I probably at least twice a week listen to Gimme Chocolate, because it is my happy place. That song is, I can center myself there because it is so ridiculous, but so well executed. Like, it is a really great metal song that is about chocolate and sung by little Japanese girls.
Mm-hmm.
It is the first time in my life that I ever truly understood what the word kawaii meant. That's where I got it, was watching that video. I was like, oh, that's what them kids are talking about.
Yes. Brett, what would be some of the tracks that caught your attention?
I've spent all of my review chips on these tracks, but I will say anytime there's a song about a confection in a metal album, like Guars never sang about chocolate. You know, these girls did. Give Me Choco is something that was catchy enough. It was what I was drawn to before I listened to this album all the way through, and I got that crazy dirty South from Japan. But yeah, like there was all kinds of earworms in this that, like, you know, it was surprising at how little there was actual vocals. Like if you did the amount of time when it was just people going boodly doodly doodly doo and drums doing the drum thing that you do in metal albums, it was secondarily vocals. Like it was a minority of the time. So like I was really, really, really happy to get that hip hop breakdown. That's what I'm clinging to. That is really like this album would be way worse for me. I would be way more negative.
Not the random reggae breakdown like 3 songs later.
Well, but that wasn't as like disturbing. Like it didn't like
I don't know.
That stopped. It wasn't even in the middle.
Drop out for it. Like that was the thing about the rap breakdown is like everything stopped.
Yeah.
Everything.
And like what was before and what was after, nothing like it. Like it's like, yeah.
And furthermore, it's something that I still get thrown off. I've listened to this multiple times, a lot, and I still get thrown off completely by it coming up. It's like I still have to have a moment. It's like, all right, we're getting ratchet.
That's a thing. That is something that somebody put, like some kid could have just like spliced the tape and put that in the middle of a song and tricked all of us stupid Americans. Like it makes no sense. Like I don't know what they're saying.
I think this all really comes back to Anthrax and Public Enemy mixing metal and rap music, and really it's all Scott Ian's fault. I'm sorry, Scott. I love you, but it's your fault.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Can we just say, did the guitars get a little new metal-y in here a couple times? There were a couple of like straight up 7-string corn riffs on here. And
it definitely does do that. There was a couple of songs that, there's one song that basically, I'm going to say probably song number 4. I want to say off the top of my head that sounds very much almost like a Limp Bizkit song. And that I would say would be the weaker parts when they start getting butt rocky.
When you go to drop Z, there's trouble,
And Catch Me If You Can basically sounds like a Static X song, which, I've been known to listen to some Static X, but that's definitely not for everybody, and not something I would put up on the pedestal of the pinnacles of metal history. But
although that dude's hair was on point back in the day. I don't know about now, but that dude's hair
was on point.
Yep.
When I play an organ, I pull out all the stops. Yeah, let's pun it up there, buddy.
I didn't even realize I did that, but that is awesome.
And of course, but then again, a couple of songs later you get headbang, and then it gets back to okay.
If they could just like go to drop D like every other good metal band, like stop that, I think they would be better off. Or like the only band I ever
even do drop D. I think the key thing is keep the metal as Japanese as possible. Keep the J-pop as strong as possible. I think Sue Metal still has some room to grow as a J-pop singer because she's young. She's like 16 years old, so she's got time. She's gonna get better, and I think if they just focus on being as Japanese or as European as possible with the metal, keep away from the butt rock, they're gonna be fine. Let's go back around the horn for some final conclusions. I'll go with you again, Drew. Drew, what would you think about the album overhaul?
It's really hard to put it in the words. Like if you get into this as a metalhead, you're not going to get what you're expecting. You're just not. It goes weird places throughout the entire thing. And that, to me, part of Japanese culture that's really cool is that they will take something and just twist it and put weird bits into it just because why not? And that's sort of cool. You're gonna go on a weird ride. Is it for every metalhead? No, it's not. But if you're looking for like a fun, just sort of ride, and you and like me enjoy like that weird time in video games where like it was all weird power chords and stuff like that, I would say pick it up. I would say give it a shot. I thought it was going to be all of a gimmick and it was going to be all of a joke, and it wasn't. So I was actually pretty happy with it.
Patrick, before we get to Brett, Patrick, what would be your thoughts about the album as a whole?
If you get the joke of Metalocalypse, which is that there's this perception that death metal is made by people who all want to die and takes itself seriously. If you understand what that's mocking, you will probably get what this is, which is, it's just, let's take a style of music that is traditionally viewed as very violent and dark, and let's mix it with a style of music that is viewed as completely fluffy and poppy without substance. You know, from a 10-foot view, that's like pop music and death metal, and cram it all together. It's fun. Go watch the Gimme Choco video. If that doesn't make you love it, you're not going to like this. But if that song, if you're like, oh my God, I don't know why I like this, but I can't stop listening to it, the album's worth a shot. There's some good in here along with the corn guitars. I like novelty metal. I find, the whole Metalocalypse thing pretty amusing. There's a little band called Zimmer's Hole, which if you like, funny metal music, go listen to them. They're amazing. And yeah, just beside the point. But this is fun. It's sugary sweet death metal.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way to describe it. And if that sounds interesting to you, you will probably enjoy it. If only for the novelty, which is at least really well executed.
Mm-hmm. Brett, what would be your thoughts on the album as a whole?
Well, I take offense to Pat's assumption that pop music can't have substance, because the song by Pop Music, had both shooby dooby doo wop and bop bop shoo wop in it. It really speaks to us, But
not where I thought you were going with that.
Well, we talk about pop music.
Pop music.
But no, I honestly couldn't tell if these instruments were for reals or for computers reals.
I think the guitars are real. As a metal nerd, I'm 99% sure most of the drums were done with drum kit from hell. They sound disturbingly like drum kit from hell.
Or they do sound like triggered and stuff to me too.
They're drum kit from hell.
I mean, it's pop music. That is what this is. This is popular music with an ingredient thrown in that is the gimmick, the hook, the thing that makes them rise to the top is that they sound different with heavy metal. It is absolutely like some guy in a suit in a building said, "This will make money. Let's do this." It was not like a bunch of musicians got together in high school and decided they were going to rage against the man by going boodle doodle doodle doo. The best musicians in this band have nothing to do with the fame that this band gets. The people that they wrote the instrumentation, they did the entire compositions. There are some smart musicians involved with this that did some amazing work, and they put the face of young girls on it. I like what's going on here. I enjoy that it's fun. Like, Japanese think Americans are known for laughing a lot. Well, we laugh at Japanese things that are so different than us. It's a thing that we do. It's very, very different culture, and when they take things from our culture and make it into something that is so completely different, I don't want to just laugh at it like a freak show. There's some good in here that they took, but I have a feeling 5 years from now we're going to be like, remember that time when they went, "Are you ready? 1, 2, 1, 2?" You know,
Yeah.
and like, I know that the Japanese music industry is known for chewing people up and spitting them out and forgetting about them.
Yeah.
But I hope they get like 5 more years of having fun. Because, like, didn't they go on tour with Lady Gaga? Like, weren't they an opener that I didn't get to see? I got to see Hatsune Miku. No. I say
You
no.
didn't get to see
I would have
Cranium
much
Pop.
rather saw that happen live in Detroit.
Yes.
Than-
Oh yeah.
than
And they would have
Hatsune
brought they brought the band too. That's just
Yeah. But like, listen to, like, somebody has some chops in the production. It is a tight album, and I can't really, like, none of us really has judged the lyrics because we don't speak the language. We got to
They
kind
have
of
a
say
song
that.
called Gimme Chocolate. I think that probably is about as deep as it gets, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Is
there's
it deeper
one,
than I
Megitsune
want to
is
rock
about a
and roll all
nine-tailed
night
fox.
and party every day?
Oh, I'm
And-
not knocking them for it. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's meant to be enjoyed, and I think that is the attitude you should have going into it. If you take it
That's-
seriously, you're missing the point.
And that's
There's-
why we listen to these albums anyway. We do this for fun, not for keeps. Like,
Yeah.
music is always fun. That's why I have a Guar album. That's why it's
Everybody should have a Gore album.
at least one of them. They made like 30 of them, so come on.
Yeah.
Right, you can pick up one.
Yeah.
Concept.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a very cool mix of styles, and it's very fun journey. It is not Journey, but it is a very fun adventure.
It is more fun than Journey.
Sometimes, and the lyrics do range. I think I looked up a couple few. Megitsune is a little bit more of a fun thing about foxes and things like that, and it's fun to do the fox logo. I think Babymetal is something that's gonna grow a little bit, and probably hopefully not fall into the ether, and I hope for the best for them. It's something that if they grow the metal aspect and finally, kind of hone it in on where it works instead of where it doesn't, and while still putting in those fun parts that kind of throw you off completely, like when they get ratchet. I think it
Okay,
will
you've
always
used
be
that
good.
now 3 times. Yeah, that's
Yes.
you hit your limit.
All right,
I think Petey is
but-
trying to beat Ratchet out of the modern language so it can be replaced.
You know
with
what? Somebody could come listen to these in like 5 years, and I don't want to be dated by nomenclature that we use. Like, so let's leave Ratchet at 3. You get 3 strikes.
Yeah. But yeah, you will never be ready. Just know that you will never be ready for that moment. Even after listening to it.
I second that.
Yeah, you will never be ready for that moment. Even after 30 times listening to this album, you will never be ready for that moment. But that is it for our complete thoughts. Let's sum it all up incompletely in rhyme form or non-rhyme form.
Yeah, come on now.
With our haiku reviews, our main event. Let's go, I think, reverse of what we've been doing. I'll start with you, Brett.
All right. Young Japanese girls, heavy metal undertones, Japanese business.
Patrick, what is your haiku?
So wrong that it's right. Freshest metal band in years. And so kawaii!
Drew, what is your haiku?
Disapprove of that kawaii. I cannot say much. Fun, catchy choruses. Land of Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. And of course, my haiku, a unique style mix, can only be described as Kawaii Metal. And I encourage y'all to check it out. We should have it on our playlist if you want to play along at home. We have our playlist out on Spotify. Let us know where else we can propagate and curate a playlist other than Beats Music, because I fuck Beats Music.
I've
Still
got an
holding that hate.
RDO. I have an RDO account. If somebody wants me to do some work for this show, I will actually do it. Send an email to said email address.
recordbreakerspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know. You can find us all over the internet. Patrick is at the Swagger. Brett is at Hibbity Bibbard, HIBBITY Drew is at X. I'm at PD Rave. The show's at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com, RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Stitcher, iTunes, subscribe, share, like, throw us on Reddit, maybe. Hopefully, maybe they won't ignore us. But that's it. Until next time. Hasta los huevos.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Put your Fox sign up.
What are we talking about next week, Petey?
Oh
God!
Next week. I completely forgot.
It's
been a long time since you forgot that.
You've been
Petey.
so good.
You've
for
been
like
so
4 or
good.
5 months.
We just had too much fun this episode.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna have an album picked by Patrick Swagger. What is your album?
So since we've taken nothing seriously and had a good old time with Babymetal, I'm going back to the prog rocks because I've been on a prog rock kick again with a little band from upstate New York called 3 and their album The End Has Begun.
All right. We look forward to that. Until next time. Hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo. And a frog pants frisbee.
Kawaii!
This podcast is part of not the Frog Pants Network. For more information about this and other shows, go to rebelly.net. Audio so real, it's like you're there.